Road to Stanley, DJ Bean, Pete Blackburn. The Carolina Hurricanes are moving on. They eliminate the Devils. Pete, what separated them from New Jersey other than the greatest fans in the world?
These are two talented teams, and obviously the Carolina Hurricanes were much better in this series. And for me, the single biggest difference was coaching. We talk a lot about Rod Brind'Amour and how good of a coach he is. I think it was really on display how much better he is of a coach than Lindy Ruff. And you only have to look at the first couple of games, really, because you look at how prepared the Hurricanes were to meet the Devils and to counter what they do well, specifically with their team defense, because the Devils are a great team with off the rush. You know, they get a lot of their offense off the rush. They use their speed a lot. You look at Carolina's defensemen, they were always prepared to be back, and they skate really well, and that's a strength of theirs, but they were always in position to keep the play in front of them, and I think that really limited the Devils. But on the flip side, Lindy Ruff did not have this team prepared to face the Carolina Hurricanes, and it wasn't just in this series. You look back to when they faced the New York Rangers, that team was not prepared to face the Rangers either. It takes them a couple games to wake up in a series, and if you're going up against a really good team that is around the same quality as yours, spotting them a couple games is never going to end well for you, especially in the playoffs. And then you can get into the decision-making from Lindy Ruff when it came to starting Vitek Vanacek in Game 4 after that Game 3, that blowout win for the Devils. I think they should have stuck with Akira Schmid. It's all kind of, it comes out in the wash here because the Carolina Hurricanes were just a much better team, and they proved it. But, you know, by the time the Devils started looking like themselves, it was too late. They'd fallen into a 3-1 hole, and I think a lot of that goes back to coaching.
The Devils will always have Game 3 of every series, so good for them. This was about defense for the Hurricanes. Going back to Game 6 of their first-round series against the Islanders, they've allowed 3 goals in a game once, and they don't have a point-a-game player. That's fine. They're just not allowing opportunities and not allowing goals, and isn't that also about goaltending? Not really, because they've used 3 goaltenders. So this has been, as you said, about team defense and specifically that top pairing of Slavin and Burns. Shout out Brent Burns, a bajillion years old, still getting it done. Second pairing at points for the Hurricanes has left stuff to be desired, but as I said, that top pairing, I'm not a huge believer in plus minus, but it is worth noting that at this still kind of young juncture of the postseason, Slavin is a plus 14. That is absolutely insane. So
underrated. The most underrated player in the league.
Is he an underrated player? And is plus minus an underrated stat? Watch the extended version of this. We'll get into it. Stars, meanwhile, have won 2 games in a row, which I didn't think was a thing that was going to happen too much in this series. Is this still going to go 7 games? I said it would, but Dallas now up 3-2.
Yeah, you asking, is this still going to go Game 7 is funny because you were the one who said it. I don't believe it's going to go 7 games. And the thing that gives me the most confidence about that, big time back, Dallas Stars top line. They have Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski back together. They were on the ice for 3 goals at 5-on-5 in this last game. You know, that's one of the best lines in the entire league. And I just don't think that the Seattle Kraken, they're a great full team top to bottom, but they don't have really that counter to match what the Stars can bring at the top of their lineup. And then you also add in the fact that Philip Grubauer is kind of looking like back to regular season Philip Grubauer at points. And that's the Seattle Kraken are going to need everything going for them in order to come back and force this, not only force a Game 7, but also win this series. I don't see it. That Heiskanen Suter top pair has been awesome for Dallas. So if they stay on the ice, we saw what happened when Miro Heiskanen left this series for even a short amount of time. The Dallas Stars fell apart. So as long as that top pairing and that top line keep going for the Dallas Stars, I think they're going to be fine and they're going to cruise into the Western Conference Final.
The Stars are such a fun blend of the past and the future. I can't give up on the Kraken yet. I think that the Stars still win this series, but I can't shake the feeling that I got after Game 1 of this series, where I truly thought that the Kraken had tuckered themselves out, really selling out to make sure they won a drag-out, bare-knuckle brawl against the defending Stanley Cup champs in the first round. When they were able to withstand that Game 1, make it to overtime, and win in overtime, I said, you know what? this team isn't done yet. They've got a little something. And yeah, it has looked like at points in this series, like maybe they are running out of gas and that magic is up, but I think they have one more answer in them. I think they do force a game 7 and ultimately lose, but still, we'll look back on this season for the Kraken very favorably. Who is your Stanley standout from last evening?
A player from another team that we should look back on this season very favorably. Timo Meier, for better and for worse, was a standout last night. He obviously had the primary assist, a beautiful saucer pass on the Devils' first goal. He scored the second one himself, but I think that the most memorable moment from Timo Meier in last night's game is the wide open miss that he had on an empty net after a great sequence from the Devils. Had he put that puck in the back of the net, would have been a 3-1 Devils lead. Instead, he misses it. The Hurricanes immediately come back and tie the game 2-2 off a Brent Burns goal. Kind of a new game after that. I feel like the Devils would have potentially put the game away had Timo Meier buried that, but hindsight's 2020. He still had a great year, and now we find out what happens with Timo Meier and the Devils this offseason.
I mentioned Brent Burns earlier. He is my Stanley standout. A bajillion years old, still getting it done, scores in back-to-back games, leads the Hurricanes in time on ice in an elimination game. I think that once players get to around 34, 35, every time they're in the postseason, we talk about this being their last great chance at a cup. And shout out Brent Burns for blowing past the age that I mentioned there. He's now 38 years old. This really is his chance, and I hope that he does it. It's tough to say because I don't know if I hope the Hurricanes win the cup, but I'd be very happy for him if he's able to get a Stanley Cup with how he has produced. Oilers, Vegas tonight, both down top defensemen due to suspension. Which team takes the series lead?
I don't think the Oilers lose the game from this point on. I think that they win out and they move on to the Western Conference Final. And that Oilers-Dallas Stars Conference Final that I'm expecting should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be responsibility against irresponsibility, and count me in on the Oilers and the side of irresponsibility every single time. I agree. I don't know if they win out, but I do think that they win tonight. All right, that's Pete Blackburn, DJ Bean. This has been The Road to Stanley.